Welcome, I'm Kinetic Symphony. This is Dave. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the supernatural. Case file number 1852, written by Sonic Boom 1. A night of fear, primal dread, and an immediate peace. About a year and a half ago, I was up late at night in a Discord call with my girlfriend, where I decided to just pull an all-nighter and sleep after class that day was done. I had gotten up pretty late the day before, so I wasn't dying or anything, and was feeling alright. We were just messing around and talking about random stuff. I had about 20 or so minutes until I had to leave, and I just randomly decided to look out my open doorway. For context, I live in a room downstairs, literal basement dweller, that has no door and a half wall. So it makes like a kind of countertop, but a curtain covers it now. So I'm downstairs in the dark and looking out onto the semi-dark main basement floor. I began to just get this sense of unimaginable fear and dread, like nothing I've, thankfully, ever before or since felt. Just this raw, primal fear washed over me. I was afraid to get out of my bed, and just had one thought over and over, which was, something is here, and it wants to hurt me. Eventually, I got the courage to get up. I checked every single roll in the house while holding a knife just in case. Nothing was there. The entire time I was in a panic still, even when I got into my car and was about to leave. And then I got out and drove maybe 10 seconds away from my house, and the fear just suddenly vanished, like I physically felt the panic wash away from me. I took the hour-long drive to class just thinking about it, and had no similar problems when I came home and returned to my still empty house or anything. To this day, I'm just assuming I was tired, but I've never felt that pure, primal sense of dread again. And I still don't know exactly what caused it in that exact moment. And frankly, I'm not quite sure I even want to. Case on to file 1852. A night of fear, primal dread, and an immediate peace. Well, I want to say that this is some sort of spirit in your vicinity, or a shadow person, not one that manifested clearly, but just enough for your subconscious to pick up on it. And remember, our emotions aren't exactly governed by logic. I mean, there can be logic to them, but sometimes, if your subconscious is detecting something that shouldn't be in an area where it apparently is, the trigger of fear will just go off. It is more evolutionarily advantageous to be paranoid than not. The person who fears what's in the bush, the little shake of the bush, is going to live more often than the person who is just curious about it and not afraid at all. Fear is very advantageous. I think you're programmed to have more fear over unusual ripples in the local area. You weren't consciously aware of them, it was just your subconscious. It wasn't quite like a shake in the bush, but it was still the same principle. So I think something was there, not necessarily malicious, just you don't know what it was, your subconscious didn't, and just said, fear, fear, to get you to leave. Curious that when you came back it never triggered again, so was it just a transient spirit? I mean, it should be bound to a location, so maybe it'll repeat at some point. Case file number 1853, written by conFoozbubbletrap. Strange smells, translucent cats, and a gruesome discovery. This happened back in 2009-2010. I was living in Georgia in a low-income apartment complex with my parents, siblings, aunt, and her daughter, my cousin. To describe the apartment complex, it had several units on the property. Behind was a black-wired fence. Each unit held 4 apartments, and all of the grass area with trees, sprinkled throughout, were of public domain where lots of children played outside. Each apartment unit in the back had a glass door which was mostly hidden by a large dark brown wooden fence in the patio or balcony area whose foundation was concrete. It was an ugly complex, but hey, it was home. We lived on the first floor. For some reason, this particular summer was hot and extra humid and muggy, and what made it worse was that we were not allowed to run up the electricity by putting on centralized AC nor heating. So we had to settle on fans in the window. However, out of nowhere one week, we noticed a weird smell and tons of flies. There were so many that they filled up the fly catchers. We made sure to take out any trash and no food was unattended, and they still came through. We made barriers on any open parts of the window, while leaving the fan running, and that seemed to help out. One night, my aunt wanted to have an 80s scary movie marathon. Now this was a fatback TV that sat on a hard bin. The VCR sat on the floor and everything leaned back against the white bare wall. We closed the door to make it dark and ate our snacks. As we were watching the movie, an almost translucent white cat with large gray patches walks out of nowhere in front of the TV and then disappears. I mean, it was opaque enough to have the TV's rays reflect off of it, but it was translucent. Me and my aunt jumped and she pushed me to go investigate where the cat went. I was so scared because there was no way that it came from the closed door. We do not have cats, and finally, I cautiously tore up the room and there was nothing there. The next day, me and my siblings decided to play outside. After being bored with watching Lion King on VHS for the 100th time, and as we're playing in the back of our home in the grassy area, my brother kicked the ball down the hill. It rolled behind a tree in the corner and hit the gate. When I approached the tree, there was that familiar odor, but even stronger. But behind the tree was a carcass with maggots and flies squirting on a white cat with gray patches. I grabbed the ball and ran. I think that cat went through our house in a different dimension. Caisson to file 1853. Strange smells, translucent cats, and a gruesome discovery. Yeah, this one is indeed very gruesome. The echo of the cat that died and their corpse was just nearby gathering maggots and flies. That is just sad. There's no other word for it. But it does offer evidence that yes, at least some pets, some animals do have souls. And if they die, just like us, a tiny fragment is left behind, or can be. Case file number 1854. Written by Elfingreene. A scene of lost tickets, magical moments, and reunions. I went to a festival once in Connecticut with some friends. My friend was supposed to get us tickets, but he got scammed, so we arrived with no money or tickets for the event. As soon as I parked the car, I randomly found a car tag for the car, which would allow us to park for the entire weekend on the ground. So we decided to stay and try our luck to see if we could figure out how to scrounge up tickets inside. Stay with me. We slept in the car that night and got up early the next day to ask if there was room for us to volunteer. Luckily, they needed extra help. Our job? To stand at the front of a parking lot and ask guests of the event to not park there, as their cars would be towed. Our shifts were 8 hours the first day, and that was it. Somehow we managed to get in for almost nothing. It was absolutely wild. The entire trip was like this. While working, I said out loud to my friend, "I'm thirsty." Not even 2 minutes later, a vendor comes by and offers us shaved ice. I said out loud, "I really want chocolate." 1 minute later, a girl walks by with an unopened chocolate muffin, trying to give it away because she didn't want it. My friend and I lost our friends in the crowd, and I picked up a stick and jokingly said, "The stick will show us the way to go," and started waving it around. And it randomly pointed to the exact place our friends were standing in the crowd. Seriously blew my mind, but that's not the weirdest part. I met these two guys at the fest, and we hung out for the entire day. We walked around, went to shows, talked about life, and generally had fun. At the end of the day, we went our separate ways. We didn't get each other's numbers. They said they were from California. 4 years later, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, walking into a house party. I walked through the hallway, and this guy and I look at each other and was like, "You look familiar." He said the same thing. We both kept walking. But then I realized he was the guy from the festival. Somehow, at this random small house party, there he was. A friend I didn't think I'd ever see again. Hands down, one of the weirdest things to happen to me. Case file 1854. A scene of lost tickets, magical moments, and reunions. That does seem like a very interesting festival, but one note that I want to make. I don't think you were able to manifest matter again. I think your mind was simply relaying messages to the game master that was in charge of making your day a pleasant one. So you thought, okay, I want chocolate, and a girl comes by and doesn't want a chocolate muffin? First off, that's impossible. There's no one in the history of the earth who's thought on their own organically, I have a chocolate muffin and I don't want it. Never happened. Cannot happen. It's impossible. Completely. Unless a game master can somehow influence someone to not want something. That's the only explanation I can offer for that. Because otherwise, that's the most unexplainable thing I've ever read. Not wanting a chocolate muffin? Get out of here. No way. Now time for the joke of the day. The doctor told me my prostate was good. I was deeply touched. Yes, very deeply. Gross. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.